welcome back to another edition of the 5-Tool Podcast, episode 54. I'm Dustin McComas, joined once again, as always, by Drew Bishop. And a lot of baseball going on, as always, college baseball in full swing. We were at high school games on Friday. Major League Baseball's opening day is on Thursday, so just around the corner. We'll have baseball of all levels going on. But Drew, you and I spent you spent the weekend out at the gorgeous Franklin Ranch. I had never been there before.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever actually stopped in Franklin. I've driven through it a couple times. But you were out there the whole weekend. I was there Sunday for the 12 baseball. I don't know what the official name was. Showdown.
The 12 Showdown.
They just had a weekend of all their teams out there competing. And when you go see that facility, it's like, yeah, let's find reasons to go use that thing because it's beautiful out there. But you were out there with S2 Cognition doing a bunch of testing of those players. And I went out on Sunday and caught some of that 14U action and just checked in on the S2 stuff and talked to Zach Dillon, those guys at 12. But really fun Sunday out there. But I was fired up when you told me how many players had actually gone through and done the S2 Cognition testing. So take us through kind of that and that process of being with S2 out there and just how many players you guys were able to actually test over the course of just 2 days.
Yeah. So it was great. It was a good test run for us. You know, we're going to try to be bringing some of these, a testing unit to some of our tournaments out in Melissa and some other places this summer. So it was a good trial run for us having such a big event. I think there was 12 teams there between 13 and 14-year-olds. And we just tried to bring them in, get them tested. We did a 3-part test for all of the kids that took it. And in about a day and a half, we got just about 100, I think it's totaled 174 kids.
Wow.
We tested. So it was a good number. We appreciate the 12 having us out, just can't say enough good things about the organization. Zach Dillon, Trevor Moat, those guys run a great organization. Lots of really good coaches. That's the thing that stood out to me. Good communication, really respectful kids. They came in, took care of business, got the testing done. And it was fun. It was fun to see how excited they were getting in. And it was kind of neat too. We got to try out the new mobile system that they'll be using with the Xbox controllers.
Yeah.
So the way we did it, we had it split in half. Like half of the kids were testing on an Xbox controller and half of them were using the computer system that they've used up until now. And it was funny because it got to a point where the kids that were getting the Xbox controllers were fired up because they had the Xbox, which they were used to. And the kids from using the computer system were like, hey, why didn't we get an Xbox? But it was interesting. Just another reminder of how different the kids are, because they'd get done with the test and they'd all be waiting for each other. And, one kid would say, I thought the second thing was the hardest. And someone would think it was the first or the third. So it just kind of an obvious reminder of how different these kids are and how their brains are wired.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was interesting is, one of the 3 tasks is something that, for a 13 and 14-year-old, that part of the brain is just now starting to come online. And it's something that's not fully developed and isn't even close to being fully developed. But it was noticeable that was the one that more kids seem to have a tough time with, and it was very obvious too that the 14-year-olds did a lot better at it than the 13-year-olds. So it made a lot of sense. Yeah. And so, we got a bunch of really good data and information and get it out to the kids, but it's going to be a tool that can help these guys with the 12 coach. I think that's the goal. And this being a player development product, it's just really cool to see. And it was fun to see how much the kids got into it. And, Paul got to do his talks with some of the parents, and, you listen to Paul talk about the product and what it does and how powerful it can be as a player development tool, and just kind of helping you understand why you are or why you play the way you do. And so it was great. It was good. It was a good test for us. Again, like I said, we appreciate the 12 having us out. It's fun to work with such a good organization, and, get into the baseball side of it. I mean, their 14U black team, I think, would be able to compete with a lot of varsity programs. Maybe not the tip top ones, but some teams I've seen this spring, I think they could definitely compete, at least stay on the field with them. But I mean, the level of talent out there in that organization it's crazy. There's a lot. And, I saw they had a 13-year-old left-hander, I think, who was actually from Franklin.
Yeah.
That was 82. And and it wasn't like he's just bigger and stronger than everyone blowing it by him. Like, he was moving the ball to both sides of the plate, and he was only throwing fastball changeup, which I love.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
Like,
yeah.
Seeing a lot of the 13 and 14-year-olds doing that, you could tell there was a real emphasis on the player development from the pitching side, as far as like pitching, not just throwing breaking balls in every count and trying to locate. And it was great because they were only playing other 12 teams, so there was an ability for them to kind of stop a game and coach a little bit too.
Yeah.
Which at that age is just so important. And I felt like there was a lot of coaches that would stop it for stuff that was really important, like maybe a kid not getting down the line. And I noticed a couple, like earlier on Saturday, there was a kid or two that didn't get down the line. They stopped it, said something to the kid, and then same kid throughout the rest of the weekend, like, didn't happen again. And that's what you want to see on stuff like that. But again, it was just, there's so much talent out there, and they've just built such a good program. But yeah, like you said too, that facility is ridiculous.
It's awesome.
I mean, I think there's six or seven fields that they were able to use. Yeah. And it was, I mean, I don't remember playing at many places like that growing up. Do you?
No, like, I remember, since I was a Houston kid, when Baseball USA opened, and that they talked about the yard,
crown jewel.
If you get to play, get to play at the yard, and that was kind of the like whoa type thing. But no, I don't remember any. Certainly no facilities with turf. Like, I don't even know when turf really became a thing. But yeah, I mean, growing up playing at Spring Klein down at Rothwood. We played Northwest 45 sometimes and things like that, and played in Humble and stuff, and no, nothing close to the Franklin facility. And a pretty broad selection of concession stand food. How about that? The 5-tool foodies in us, like, shout out to that popcorn.
The gourmet popcorn.
I made sure to save Liz some of the cheddar that I got, and it prevented me from crushing the entire bag like immediately. But
I don't think I could do
popcorn. That. I wish I had the name in front of me. It started with a B that they had there. I got the cheddar, but I tried some of Trevor's sea salt and caramel, and I was like, oh my gosh, this really, but they had like sausage wraps and brisket nachos and all sorts of stuff out there. But it was
Bell's Gourmet Popcorn.
Okay, Bell's Gourmet Popcorn. Yeah, and if you can get some, if you ever see it in stores out in that neck of the woods, definitely get some for sure. It was outstanding. But yeah, the concessions matched the facility. It was a total package of prep and youth baseball out there. But yeah, so they did, for the S2 test for these younger guys, they just did the 15-minute one. So a little bit of a abbreviated test, because you're not going to test these guys the same way as you're going to test an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old, or certainly not the pro level as well. But I hope that, if there are any parents listening that were out there throughout the weekend, like, get the results. I can't emphasize that enough. Get the results. And, especially you might think at that age, it's not that important. And I would argue it's probably more important now than it's going to be later on, because as you said, Drew, some parts of these brains, and we've learned from these guys, and talking to Dr. Wiley and Paul Phillips and stuff like that, we've learned from these guys that certain parts of the brain are going on right now. And that if you start training these things at a young age, you can make some strides, you can make some gains. Whereas if you're kind of doing that when you're 18, 19, 20, it's tougher because those things are more developed. They're more kind of, for lack of a better term, hardwired. You know, it's tougher to kind of change those things. But I can't encourage parents and players and coaches enough. Like, get those results. It could be the most important piece of baseball data and feedback that you ever get, you know, in terms of just knowing how your brain operates and the types of things that you can train on, and understanding just what kind of player you are, you know, what things that you're excelling at right now, and kind of adding some reason behind, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense. I do have some, or I watch my son and he does kind of struggle in this area, or he's really, really good at this area. And this is why, and this is match up. So I would tell those parents, like, get the results, you know, don't just do the test. Like the test without the results is basically meaningless. Get those results, get that data. So, you know, hey, okay, this is kind of how his brain is working. These are the types of things that we can work on. This is the type of feedback I can give to my coach and say, hey, it looks like I really excel in these areas, but it kind of makes sense why I might struggle in these areas. What are some things that you can do to kind of help me, you know, try to get the best and improve that, as opposed to maybe kind of being confused that, man, why do you chase that pitch so much? Well, here it explains why.
Yeah, well, and two, I think one of the things that we were kind of paying attention to is we hadn't done a whole lot of the 3 battery options.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being on site, I think it was important that we kept it efficient, kept it moving, and these guys were playing games. So we were kind of watching to see how the kids would respond and react for the groups that took it before they played versus the groups that took it after they played. And there really wasn't a difference. Like, there was one group that kind of had a tough loss at the end. And, you know, we were a little bit concerned, and I know the coaches were, but the kids came in, they took it, and it was easy. Like, the 3-portion test was taken anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes.
Wow,
so the kids
good.
were in and out, and we pulled a bunch of them aside and kind of said, hey, you know, like, you know, did that stress you out to the point where it might affect you in a later game? And, you know, every single kid pretty much said no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was good to see, just because we're rolling that out at some of our events. So, you know, we look forward to having the testing capabilities on site. And, you know, we're going to have these monster tournaments with so many teams up in Melissa and across the state and country, really. And encourage, it's a great time to just knock it out. Like I said, that 3 battery portion took about 15, 20 minutes. Kids were in and out, wasn't too taxing on them. You know, it's not the whole 5 or 8 battery test. So it didn't take the same amount of time, and they didn't just look mentally exhausted or taxed when they took it. So, you know, I think that was a good test run for us, and, you know, kind of confirmed what we hoped and thought might be the case. But, you know, it was good to see it in action. And, you know, it was easy. Like, there was a couple of teams that, you know, they'd get the last out of their game, pack up, head up there, and they were, from the last out to the time they were in their car was 30 minutes. So, or under 30 minutes. So that was good. It was efficient and nice and easy. So, you know, just don't want people to be intimidated by the thought of taking it before or after a game. So
15, 20 minutes. I mean, that and you know, you're not having to fork over the entire checkbook to get the results either. And it's just
right.
Like 15, 20 minutes, pay to get the results. And it's like, that's all it takes. And it could just really unlock a lot of new avenues in terms of your development as a player, and your relationship with your coaches. College coaches in the future are I guarantee you, if they're a program that's on top of things, they're going to know about S2. They're going to know about the importance of it. They're going to know about its impact. They're probably using it with their guys, or will be in the future.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to see your stuff. And, you know, having that sort of data and those results to share with them, could put you ahead of the curve, could put you at closer to the top of their list, because it's going to arm those coaches with more information about what kind of player you are.
Right. And too, you know, that was always interesting when we were in the room with some college programs presenting it. And, you know, we still to this day have not found someone that didn't believe in the technology and the product by itself. But it's interesting, like pitching it to the guys to get the info on their current team. But when you mention that you can get this information for recruiting, they perk up a little bit. Oh, yeah. So it's something that's going to be a huge advantage for the programs that use it. And I mean, we can look at some of the programs that we've tested this year and how they're doing. I mean, like Tennessee, Vanderbilt, OU, Baylor, like having successful seasons, A&M. And it's, we've gotten really good feedback from the programs that have used it. Like it's changed the way they've practiced in some venues, when it comes to how you structure your hitting groups and what drills you do with certain hitters or pitchers. It's had an impact, and that's what we were hoping to see in that player development piece. The earlier and earlier you can get this information, the more you can attack it. It's just like it's like if you want to think about it, like learning a language, younger kids pick up on language easier. That's right. And it's the same type of thing, as their brains are starting to develop and these functions are starting to come online, it's a much easier time for them to take it in and absorb it and train to do it this way. And it's like, can't teach an old dog new tricks is, kind of an overarching theme with it, but it is cool to see. And it's going to be really interesting to see from the group that have gotten the results, how quickly they can put it into practice, literally. But the S2 guys were very intentional with the 3 that they picked. It was basically they chose between the 3 that tell you where you decide, should I swing or not? And if so, where do I swing when? That's basically what you're getting from that 3 battery portion. And those are all 3 pretty important core components to hitting. So it was exciting. And, like I said, confirmation on what we thought would be a good setup and a good plan for testing on site at some of these events, and look forward to keep doing it.
Yeah. Sounds like it went extremely well. And whenever you mention to parents, college coaches, and then you think about, like, and I know we can, talk about advantages of recruiting and this and that, but if you think of the college program that's putting guys into draft at the highest rate, Vanderbilt is definitely in that mix. And Tim Corbin's all about this because of the way it individualizes the development. Like, they can specialize their development for that specific player, and that's how players get better. So really thrilled to hear, how it went this weekend and seeing that kind of happening in person, and then how many guys got tested and stuff like that. It's awesome. I think it's kind of the start of what, is probably going to become the norm at a lot of our big events and things like that, is getting those guys tested and giving those parents and players the opportunity to get some really, really, really important data as well. But we were both at games on Friday. My breakdown's pretty short. I kind of wanted to see something a little different. And, my son's birthday was Saturday. So in my head, I was like, well, I want to kind of take a little bit of a shorter drive to get back kind of earlier Friday night and help my wife kind of prep for the party and make a late night HEB run to get all this stuff. And I was like, I'll go down to San Antonio because it's a little less than an hour and a half, no traffic. And I've learned now that
how do we know that there's a time for no traffic? Has there ever been one of those?
Well, that's what I'm getting to. But I looked at the Google Maps thing at about 1. It was like a little less than an hour and a half. I was like, cool. At 4:45 start. I'll leave at 2:30, give myself plenty of wiggle room. And now I know that, like, there's no such thing as a quick drive to San Antonio. people talk about Austin traffic, and yeah, it's bad. San Antonio traffic is awful. It's worse. Like it's a mess. And sorry for any San Antonio people listening, that city can't drive. That is the worst driving city. Like there's always wrecks. There's just always chaos and around certain, like it's like everywhere. Like you can't like escape it. Like I-10 or 35 or whatever that big loop they have, that just everywhere. You can't escape it. So I was like, oh gosh. So I roll in. I get there at like 5 for a 4:45 first pitch, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, like so I'm going to see Harlan and Brennan because I wanted to see Tristan Bristow pitch. He's a 2024 Vanderbilt commitment. There's like no current video on him, so I was like, you know what, I want to get some eyes on him. I'm going to get some video so we can have something kind of on file for him from the high school season just to get a look. And Brennan was an area finalist last year, and the game earlier in the week was 2-1 on like a walk-off. I was like, okay, I'll probably see a good game, might see a couple guys, whatever. I roll in, and it's fortunately for me, Bristow hadn't pitched yet because it was 7-0 after an inning. So he gets on the mound, and the game eventually is 20-1 in the 4th inning. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was an abysmal drive to get down here. This game's 20-1 in the 4th inning. I had major FOMO because I wanted to go see Zach Royce and Cinco Ranch against Tompkins because he was pitching. And I'd seen Tompkins a couple of times. Like, man, I can't keep going to see Tompkins all the time. Like I'll go see Royce pitch again against somebody else that I haven't seen yet. And it sounded like he threw the ball really well. I was messaging with him. That was a really competitive game into the 7th inning that Tompkins ended up winning, I think 4-2. So I was like, oh man, but saw Tristan Bristow. He was up to 88, fastball, curveball. The curveball really flashed. I mean, it was a pitch that those batters, if it was in the zone, they couldn't do anything with it. You can see why he's a Vanderbilt commitment. I mean, it's a big time ceiling. It's a really, for lack of a better term, like a piece of clay that could be molded into really something special. As most young pitchers his age, he doesn't quite know in terms of the execution and sometimes what he's doing out there on the mound, but really quick arm. He's already physical. He's going to really project, athletic. There's some arm strength in there. There's some feel for spin. You can see why he's a Vanderbilt commitment. So on one hand, got to see him throw 4 innings in a 20-1 game. Got some video that I published already from my account. On the other hand, I just know that San Antonio now, and it's funny, Mike Finger, San Antonio Express News columnist, used to cover the Longhorns for a long, long time, friend of mine. He's like, you can't drive to San Antonio between these times or it's going to be chaos. And sure enough, he nailed the time perfectly. I left a little after 2, and he's like, yeah, after 2, you can't do it. I was like, well, now I know. So got some eyes on Tristan Bristow, really exciting player. Hopefully we get to see him in the summer as well. You can see why he's a Vanderbilt commitment. But yeah, Harlan was up 20-1 in the 4th inning of that game after a competitive 2-1 game earlier in the week in a district matchup. So it sounds like you had better luck than I did with your game, seeing a guy that's a senior on our 5-55 list.
Yeah, no, I got to see, Jared.
2 guys actually.
Yeah, Jared's been on the shelf for a little while with, I think, some like a bone bruise in his wrist or something along those lines, but still not cleared to hit. But this was the first time I've seen him pitch live in a while. And you could tell he was a little bit rusty in a big district game and trying a little hard. He threw some really good breaking balls that were too good and had some hit by pitches. But I'll tell you what, this was my first live look at Tavion Vaughns, and I was super impressed. He exceeded my expectations. He ended up with a hit by pitch, double, intentional walk, double, and the doubles were smashed.
Wow.
Down third baseline, one of them, the third baseman didn't even move before it was by him. And I liked him in the outfield, man. He had good actions, good jumps, caught the ball right. Like it's so funny. Like I for defensive guys, I just like to see the way they catch the ball.
Absolutely.
Like, where they catch it, how easy it is, and even pitchers. I feel like I can get a pretty interesting feel on a pitcher by the way he catches the ball. Like, if you'll remember this, but Dylan Peters just caught the ball right as a pitcher. I don't know. It just makes you feel like they're a baseball player. But Tavion positioned himself well, got some good throws out of him. I was very impressed. Like we know how talented he is.
Yeah.
But he's further along on the baseball player spectrum than I was even thinking. And, I mean, there's no reason for me to think he wasn't, but just from video I've seen and, everything I've heard, I think he might get a label as being raw because he still has so much more in there. But he's got good instincts. He moves well to the ball. He's obviously strong. We know that. I mean, if you put together a Tavion Vaughns highlight video, and just him crushing balls, like that's one thing. But man, he took good at bats, was tracking the ball well. I was very impressed. He's one of the best. He had one of the best performances I've seen all spring. So, if he makes it to Norman, I could see him playing a lot early and, being a top or middle of the order guy too. He's advanced as a hitter. And it wasn't like he was just facing somebody that didn't have any business being on the mound. I mean, he was facing Jared Thomas and the bats that I saw. So, super impressed with him. Like, I know we've talked about it before, but I know Clay Van Hook and the OU crew is really excited to get him. Special talent. There's a lot in there. And like I said, he's a baseball player now. But I mean, the sky's the limit for him because there's a lot of potential to continue to get better and better for him. So
yeah. It's funny you mentioned watching how guys catch the ball. That's a big thing I'm into as well. But think about how we always used to talk about when we would watch receivers that like Texas was recruiting. Like, do they fight the ball, or are they a natural? Does it come naturally to them? And it's a really good point. Like, it's one of the reasons why I liked Cason Wells in center field when I saw him, is like some guys just naturally track and like catch the baseball, like it just comes super easy to them. That's something that I always kind of keep an eye on as well. But I think Vaughns might have some pretty big time weightlifting numbers too, if I'm remembering.
Yeah. He was when we were going through the initial 55 release, like that was one of the things I remember, like we were texting back and forth about. It's like, did you see this? Like him and Cooper Strawn are the two that stick out to me as being the guys that we've seen like put up some pretty ridiculous numbers. And baby DeAndre Jones.
Yeah, DeAndre Jones that definitely does too. Yeah. If I recall, so he's got a pretty big time back squat.
And along those lines, like a lot of times those guys that you see lifting that kind of weight, you might expect them to be a little bit stiff, but right. I didn't feel that from Tavion at all. So I mean, man, like I said, I couldn't have been more impressed by him. And in a big district game facing Jared Thomas and all that, like, I mean, it was everything you could hope to see when you go watch a kid play. Like I saw it. Like he had a good read on a ball in the dirt, took third. I mean, just it was great. I was very excited by him.
Yeah, you start listing off the tools, and then you start talking about the skill that way. I mean, that's a big time prospect. A guy that I saw with the Blue Jays scout team in the fall, and it's like, strong arm. Okay. Covering some ground. Okay. Like, what the bat's capable of. So it sounds like he's one of those seniors that's got his arrow pointing up. And, let's be honest, that class is that there's not many of those guys where it's just, they're going up. Right. A lot of guys have kind of stagnated and stuff like that. Just, I was texting with a couple of scouts this morning about the class and stuff, but it sounds like that arrow's pointing up. So glad you got a good look at him, and let's hope Jared Thomas is swinging the bat soon. Cause that's
no, you can just tell it's killing him.
Yeah, I bet.
You could tell too when he
was off to a red hot start. I feel like, kind of living on base and had a couple bombs early on in the season.
Well, you could tell too. It was the first time he'd pitched in a long time, and you could tell he was super frustrated. Just the fact that he's like, he was rusty. That's the bottom line. And he still flashed everything you want. Like you saw a good breaking ball, you saw some really well commanded pitches, but from a pitch to pitch basis, he like I said, he missed he had some hit by pitches because the curveball was, let's say, too good. That's ultimately he wasn't starting it where he wanted, and it was moving so much that it caught the foot of a couple guys. But it's all there with Jared, and I would, we know what he is. But it was, the other guy that I really liked in that game from Cedar Hill was McLennan commit Isaac Goddard. Big arm, really big arm. Like I didn't have a gun, but man, the ball, you could tell by the swings that it was coming out really well. And I think he'd missed a couple starts potentially with the back issue, but so you could tell he wasn't as sharp as he has been at times, but man, like really good stuff. And he's got the frame. Like he goes to McLennan, puts on some weight, he might throw really hard. It's
a great JUCO move both ways, both for McLennan and for the kid, because like you said, it's big time arm strength. And I think there's still some physical projection there. And just one of those guys we're probably going to be talking about next year. Like, oh yeah, he's sitting low 90s and bumping mid to upper 90s. And, he's got a breaking ball and scouts are interested in him. And it's just like these, McLennan just does a great job. I remember when they got that commitment, I was texting with Tyler Johnson, and they went and saw a bullpen and just like, yep. Well, we like the kid, like the way he goes about his business. The stuff is lively. Like we jumped on that one. It's like those guys don't make it hard, like that's a kid that was just kind of hanging out uncommitted.
Well, there was some definite poise on the mound too. Like he had some jams and had some traffic, and like I said, the control wasn't probably where he'd want it to be from, like when he's at like peak performance, but so he had a little traffic, but he never showed it, right? Like the game never sped up on him. He had a couple of balls that could have been strikes, I thought, for ball 4. And it didn't affect him, like I think he knew or thought that they were strikes, but he didn't show it, and it didn't take him a couple pitches to rein it back in. A lot of times you see that, like when they're pissed because of a ball that's called, it might affect them for 3 or 4 pitches, but Isaac got right back on the mound and went right back in there. And that was good to see, just a mature outing, and they got Cedar Hill ended up with the win. So
yeah. It's a good get. Another good get from McLennan. We saw last night that Wyatt Wiatrek committed to them. Right-handed pitcher who was probably the top uncommitted senior arm in the state. I might be missing a few guys, but I saw him earlier this season, saw him in the summer. One time LSU commitment, like that's another, like, it's not a coincidence that the McLennans and stuff are often so good with so much talent, because they're getting guys like that. And then they get them in that culture and that development, and they're able to often get those guys going in the right direction. So, a guy that's a big time pitcher for, maybe the best team in the state of Texas. Like I know they're 4A, but I'd put him up there with any 6A team in the state. And he's a reason why, because he's on the mound throwing so well for them. So shout out to him for his commitment, and McLennan kind of doing their thing and racking up the commits. But Yeah, I'm glad you get some eyes on him, because he was the guy I was excited that, once he committed to McLennan, I was like, man, it's just like that guy's got some major upside. But I guess we'll establish that you're not a curse to the 22 class like I am, since Tavion Vaughns did his thing for you, and Isaac Goddard throwing well. And
I'm not willing to confirm that yet, because we still have some games to go.
This week might put it to the test. Where are you planning on going this week?
So tonight, I think I'm going to go see Rock Hill versus Lovejoy.
Okay.
Want to see Jack Livingstone again.
Nice. Yeah.
From Lovejoy. Brenner Cox. Still haven't seen him live on the mound. There's a chance that he might close, it sounds like. So I want to see that game. I think Friday, I'm going to see Heath and Prosper.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. So hoping that, I think I'm going to see Harrison Rosar. He's starting to get some buzz from Prosper. QB1.
Okay. We like those.
Starting to trend upward on the mound for them. And then Saturday, I know I'm going to see one game. I think I'm going to see Mansfield Legacy and Flower Mound Marcus. They're playing at DBU. So, and it's later in the day, so I may be able to squeeze another game in there early. Haven't been giving my marching orders yet on birthday party prep for Sunday. So that may keep me at a one game, but I think Grandma and Grandpa might be in town, so I might be able to sneak two in on Saturday. We're TBD at that point on Saturday, but I mean you're starting to see some of these big time matchups take shape, and it's weird because Prosper and Heath are not in the same district, but they're playing a district schedule this week. They're both playing each other Tuesday and Friday, so I think some people are going to get over and see them over in Prosper today, and I should see them in Heath on Friday. So excited about that. But yeah, no, I was trying to map out my schedule for the next couple of weeks, and starting to get some really fun matchups.
Yeah.
Some more heated contests, and I just love that atmosphere and watching these guys play. Because there's some emotion there. See how they react on a bigger stage, right? And see if they step up or melt based on the pressure, or whatever you want to call it for this level. But I saw that your boy Arcay from Summer Creek had a good game on Friday after you saw him.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Erick Arcay guy can hit, man. I didn't even get to see him put the bat in motion a ton, but he's just one of those guys when he stepped in the box, the way he tracked pitches and carried himself. I was like, this dude can hit. And, he put the bat in motion a little bit, and I saw a swing. I was like, yeah, that swing is going to play. And then I think he had 7 RBI Friday. I think he went 3 for 4 with a bomb and another extra base hit. And I'm thinking, tip of the hat to Cisco College for jumping on that one. And they got a commitment from his brother too, who hits 4-hole behind him. And I looked at Erick Arcay. I was like, dude, this is a D1 hitter. Yeah. And perhaps he'll end up being a future D1 hitter. And I mean, again, junior college baseball in Texas is outstanding. Like, I'm not knocking junior college baseball, but I'm looking at him like, whew, I think some D1s missed on that one. I know they watched Summer Creek because Jane Duplantier was there, although he was a really, really early Texas commitment. But yeah,
but I wonder if he's, you think it could be tied to his brother too. They want to keep playing together.
Yeah, perhaps. Who knows? The kid might just want to go bet on himself at Cisco and do his thing there. And he's gonna, like, one of the things about junior college stuff is you're often gonna play, like, you're gonna get reps,
and some of those guys just want to go play because, like, you have a much more robust schedule in the fall. And I mean, you add up those at bats in the fall and the spring and game action. Like, it's significant. And like we talked about, that's what some guys need and that's what some guys want. They're all about the baseball.
Yeah, right? No, go get the reps. I mean, it's kind of
no practice limits, and
it's
like
kind of it's a kind of like a pro ball atmosphere without being in pro ball. Like you get to play as much as you want, reps as much as you want, hang out with the coaches as much as you want. Like there's, it's just all about baseball out there. But yeah, I think that guy's going to be really good. I could see us hearing about him next season. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's mashing at Cisco. But I was telling, I think Nick Timms was down there, and I was like, yeah, man, sounds like my guy put on a show, and he did. So that Summer Creek team could with Adam Troy at the Pepperdine signees, their ace, and Duplantier and the Arcay brothers and stuff like that, and they got a chance to do a little damage. I know they're already doing some damage in that district, but yeah, I'm excited. I've been like you. We're kind of trying to map out our April schedule, and I've got some potential good ones. I'm gonna go see I'm gonna go down to the Woodlands and see Braden Sharp throw tonight against Oak Ridge. Unfortunately, Hayden Morris is throwing Friday. He's not throwing tonight, but Oak Ridge is got some dudes in there. I think Connor Bennett, catcher, 23 class, committed to Vanderbilt. And then the Woodlands, Braden Sharp. They've got some other guys as well. But I mean, Braden Sharp has just been throwing the absolute heck out of it. I think it was 2 weeks ago he threw a perfect game with 17 strikeouts. And that's a good district. Like you start naming the teams in that district, and we know the baseball down there has always been really good. So it's not like he's doing it against poor competition. So playing to see him, and then playing to see Mr. one of the best Twitter names out there, Fitzmagic, Sean Fitzpatrick at Concordia Lutheran, played on CMM on Friday. He's supposed to be on the mound for those guys. So get my first look at him, which will be fun. So yeah, these district races are heating up, and kind of seeing who's making that playoff push. And I'm also too kind of keeping in mind, well, it's like, well, this team is going to be in the playoffs, so perhaps we can see him in a matchup in the playoffs and stuff like that, and trying to see as much good on good as we possibly can. But yeah, exciting times. And Major League Baseball coming up too. Did you finish your fantasy draft finally?
I did.
One?
Yeah. We got, like I said, we got this one guy that and this year, unfortunately, he was the pick right before me. And
yeah, that's
like tough. I think some of it might be to spite us. But like, so we have a group me with our whole group, and like everyone's like kind of badgering everyone like, hey, you're up. And then like I'm so impatient, like I can't just do it in the group me. I'll text them too and be like, hey, you're up. And we've got some guys that like I said, our lawyer friend that is like insane. Like he's got like the whole like mock draft mapped out for where guys should go, who's going to take them based on their keepers and rosters.
Yeah.
But like he'll have some pockets in the day where he's just not going to be able to get it on his phone, but he'll give the people picking behind him a list of a couple guys. It's like, hey, here's my list of 3, go in this order if I can't get to the thing, just to keep the draft moving. And we have a couple of California guys that they're on a different time schedule, but the one guy, like he doesn't let people know like if he's going to be gone. And so we're just kind of like, like I said last week, we have a meme for him. His name's without saying his name. So it's so-and-so's turn, and it's the bear sitting at the picnic table just waiting.
Yeah.
But that gets used quite a bit. But yeah, we finished the draft. We started Thursday and finished it, I guess, last night during the game. But I'm not sure what to think of my team yet. Like I like it, but then sometimes I can talk myself into not liking it when I look at some other teams. I think I have a good balance. I'm going to need some pitchers to pitch well. I like, for the back end of my group, I like taking guys that may not put up monster numbers, but are on winning teams. So I'll get the credit for some wins. So I took some Dodgers and Blue Jays with that on my mind. Got some upside guys. But I'm gonna pull up my roster and just so I'm not forgetting someone. But I have a lot of versatility, like we talked about the other day.
Yeah, that's important.
Especially with with the injured list being such a prevalent thing, it helps to be able to move some of
Golly,
these
that
guys around. I know, and you were
Josh
about
Rojas, I'm
to
still
cry.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
shortstop eligible, second eligible, outfield eligible, was going to hit leadoff against righties for the Diamondbacks. Probably going to steal 15-ish bags, and he's got the dreaded oblique injury. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
just brutal. And he was going to pick up third base eligibility because he's going to be their opening day starter at third. So he was going to be eligible at middle infield, corner infield, third, second, short, and outfield. So basically everywhere besides first and catcher. And that guy is that's critical because he can kind of fill in everywhere. It's like, so hopefully it's just kind of a 4-week deal. And I can, he's on my main event team, my main team. And I've got Mackenzie Gore on that team too. So it's like, you can typically stash one guy on your bench because there's no IL spots. And it's like more than one kind of makes it tough because you got to make sure you're getting at bats, counting stats, innings. Like you got to make sure you get some guys in there that are playing games, and trying to figure out what the Padres are going to do with Mackenzie Gore. But I don't know if you've seen it, but like, it's pretty cool what's happening in baseball right now with like, even though the new CBA, they talked about trying to incentivize this, and yeah, they came up with the whole reward for rookie of the year and that sort of thing, but they didn't really discourage tanking that much. Mm-hmm. But if you look around baseball right now, like the Reds are going to put Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo in the opening day rotation. The Mariners made headlines yesterday by saying Julio Rodriguez is going to break camp.
Yeah.
The Tigers with Spencer.
I saw you.
The video. Like, one of my
Those
biggest gripes with Major League Baseball is they don't market all their players and their young players, and especially the whole, like, you've got guys from the Dominican Republic and Venezuela and the United States and all these different parts of the world, and you don't market any of that. But the Mariners had a video in the camera in there while he was being told that he made the like. That was phenomenal. Like, we never get to see things like that. And it was just like marketing done right. And the Mariners are doing that the right way and really promoting it. And the Tigers with Torkelson and Riley Green would have made it. And maybe the Padres keep CJ Abrams up and Mackenzie Gore. It's great to see a lot of these organizations, especially those ones that are trying to win, like the Mariners and the Padres and stuff like that. And the Tigers too. I mean, they went out and got Austin Meadows last night. Like, they're going for it, and they're keeping their best players up regardless of Super 2 or whatever. It's like, I mean, I'm a guy that follows the Pirates really close. I'm a Pirates fan, and half their media is like, oh, everybody does this. When O'Neal Cruz got sent down, it's like, since then it's like all these top prospects get kept up, and it's like, okay, well, what are you doing, Pittsburgh? But yeah, that's been really exciting.
I'll never
so many young
tired.
guys being kept up.
Yeah, I'll never get tired of seeing the videos of the guys being told they come up.
Oh, that's
it's funny.
Ethan Roberts, the Tennessee Tech closer. Like, how cool was that in the dugout?
That was like the first time that like we really like looked at and understood the analytics, and like, because like there was nothing that would say that like he should be out there just striking everybody out, but he was a fastball, like he had the ride on the fastball, and like we just like couldn't see it. It was almost like Bednar last year. You're just swinging and missing at fastballs, and like that's weird, like that in that level, that level team, that shouldn't be an issue. But man, you just never get tired of seeing those videos. They're just so great. And it was funny. Like, I was thinking about it, like, like I think I'm not a big emotional guy during movies, but like one of the times that I can remember like almost tearing up or, something close to it was in The Rookie. Like when I guess Dennis Quaid like finally like, either gets his first outing or gets told he made the team. I can't remember, but like, or he's about to go in for the first time, and they like show his dad in the stands. But like that's just so cool. I thought it was neat getting to watch Julio Rodriguez like call his parents and all that. Like that's it brings in the human element, and it's a lifelong dream for those guys, and even though he's a top prospect and you knew it was probably going to happen at some point, it's still just like, there's nothing like it. Like, it's the only time that'll ever happen in your life, the thing that you've been working your entire life for. And I thought it was cool that, he thanked his parents for all the sacrifices and all the stuff that they've done to get him there. And I mean, how rewarding as a parent, because how much you sacrificed, and that's one of those things I always think of when we're at those huge events like the 12. Like, I always feel for the siblings, the sisters that just get dragged along, that, and I know some of them love it. Like, my best friend's sister she had to go to every single game of ours growing up. She was 2 years older than us. And like, I was like, instead of doing something fun, you're spending your summer vacation in Tulsa and Houston. And,
I did the Tulsa, Oklahoma City one.
Yeah, but they're just out there at the ball field all day long, and some of the people that were at the 12 event were driving back and forth from the Woodland, like several hours. I mean, the parents, they put so much into it, and it's not cheap either, and it's for their kids. And I hope that kids understand that, like you never ultimately will until you're a parent, I don't think, but man, like the distance that a lot of these parents go just to, either allow their kids to have fun or have an opportunity to do what they love. Like, it's just, it's what's unique about sports. And why are games so loved? So like you said, you love getting to see a moment where, all of that effort and all of that sacrifice is like realized by not just the player, but the family too. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. And there's like, it's kind of what makes baseball unique is that like, you don't really get that in football and basketball. Cause if you get drafted, it's like, okay, like you're a dude, like you're on the roster. You do get it with like maybe the journeyman practice squad guys. And, maybe there was that one guy in the Lakers organization forever that was like 34 years old, and he finally broke through and played an NBA game. So you do get that occasionally, but it's just unique to baseball. Is like, okay, you get drafted, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to reach the big leagues and have that sort of moment. So it's been really fun. I mean, I feel like just the health of the sport with the young players, and just, it seems like organizations, they're starting to better understand how to market those guys and promote it and stuff like that. Like the Reds sending out like, hey, Hunter Green's in our rotation, he's starting this day. Like, you didn't used to see anything like that. So it kind of makes me excited, even more excited about the future in the upcoming season and stuff like that. But
well, it's funny. Like I can compare it a little bit to when we were at Texas. Like when we hired Carly, she had been with the Rays and on the PR side, and worked with big leaguers, and like stuff that a lot of people, when quote unquote old school baseball people, because she was there for the last year of Augie and Skip and all that, and and even the new staff that came in, like that's just not stuff that's on the forefront of a lot of people's mind that's been in the game. But I mean, she changed our program, like, I mean, the amount that she does on Twitter and the following and the engagement, and it just makes people and fans feel like they're part of the team. And it's so powerful, and it's a way that we talk about social media in a negative light some ways, but I mean, like I said, it can be used for the right things too. And those are scenarios where it is. And, I mean, it like you said, it'll definitely keep people interested. And if Hunter Green's throwing, like, hey, you may not normally watch on a Thursday night, but hey, if you might make time to watch him, or you may adjust your TV schedule a little bit if you know that he's going to be on. So, I mean, like those people, I think the baseball world's coming around to, the marketing side of it, and you're getting some of these business and analytics people involved, and they understand the numbers, the power of it. And, I know Carly did that for Texas baseball, and, she continues to have such a huge huge impact on the program. And, she has since moved into the director of player development role, and, still runs the Twitter, but, there's a lot more development going on in baseball because of people like her in positions like that. So,
it might not be on the forefront of the old guys, the people who have been in the game for a long time, but it is the players for sure, and certainly the fans as well. And I thought it was very noteworthy that when Scott Service was telling that to Julio Rodriguez, he said, "Whatever you do, do not change the way you play, just because you're a big leaguer now." Because he's really energetic, he's really passionate. He's not a cocky guy, but people kind of call it the J-Rod show. Like he's a very energetic player. And it's just like don't lose that. Like don't lose that sort of that joy for the game and putting yourself out there and being on social media and all that stuff. And he hit that inside the park home run in the spring training game, and you should have seen his emotion when he crossed home plate. It's like, it's a spring training game, but there he is flying around the bases, head first sliding on an inside the park home run. And he's super fired up about it in a spring training game. So yeah, I think baseball is even if it's just some of the individual organizations are starting to do a better job of giving their fans like, hey, tune in and watch this guy. Like, hey, Hunter Green might throw 102 miles an hour when he pitches on Thursday. Like here's when he's throwing. Tune in and watch it. Like, I know I'm going to try to watch it. I know I'm going to try to see Julio Rodriguez's first game and follow the Mariners and stuff like that. So it's just been a big gripe of mine with Major League Baseball is just the lack of marketing and stuff like that. And the college programs, I feel like, do it better than a lot of the pro teams do, but the pro teams are starting to catch up as well. So excited for Major League Baseball to get started on Thursday. Hopefully no more of my players get hurt between now and then. Fortunately I didn't have any Fernando Tatis drafts or anything like that. And I stayed away from Jacob deGrom. I just don't think Jacob deGrom can like physically throw as hard as he can all the time. Like I don't know if his body can hold up that way. So, hopefully he gets healthy at some point, but any you have a World Series pick? Any fearless predictions about the Major League Baseball season?
Nah, not a ton.
I haven't really thought of a pick yet.
I've been
probably lazy just to go with the Dodgers, but
I haven't gotten really into team mode. I've been so focused on individual players, stats and stuff. Yeah. But man, I'd love to see Toronto do something.
That'd be fun.
I always like, Rangers, they'll be more exciting, it's finally throwing some money at it this year. So they'll be fun to watch at least. I can watch them every night with some hope. But I'll always root for Tampa, because of our friend Jason and just the way they do things.
They just brought Josh Lowe back up after they traded Austin Meadows. Like that's another exciting young prospect is a guy to watch. Yeah, it'll be Tampa always like, even though I'm a Red Sox guy, knowing Jason, the way they run their organization, I always hope they have success. Toronto would be fun. It's I know the Dodgers are the powerhouse in that NL, but it does feel like a year where you still have the usual suspects tanking, for lack of a better word, but it does feel like a year you've got a lot of people going for it. The Angels trying to go for it, the Mariners trying to go for it, Tigers going for it. I think the Guardians are still going to be pretty competitive in the AL. The AL East is stacked as always, and in the NL's got some teams as well. So it'll be fun. But I'm still kind of been in individual player mode before shifting to team mode. But the Rangers are going for it. I think John Gray could have a really good season for them. But and then by the way, we got the Masters starting later this week, and it looks like Tiger Woods is going to play. So that'll be he I guess he's doing a practice round today. And I saw a quote that he said that somebody asked him, do you think you can win the Masters? And he said, I do. They got a picture of him on ESPN. Man, he's jacked. He's definitely he definitely looks like he's in good shape. So that's always something. A lot of sports going on. We had the national title game
sports
in college. Yeah. in college basketball last night, which lived up to the hype. It was an outstanding game between Kansas and North Carolina. Bill Self wins a national title while the NCAA has been trying to suspend him for years. So that's kind of ironic and kind of funny. But all right, we're rambling here. We've got games to get to tonight. Get to Podbean, Apple Podcasts, YouTube to check out all of our podcasts. Hit the follow button, subscribe button. Please leave us a nice rating and review if you want on Apple Podcasts. It helps us kind of get out there and get discovered a little bit more and things like that. And we obviously tweet these down and follow along with all of our high school game coverage, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We even have a TikTok page. We try to cover all the social media platforms to keep you guys informed and up to date on what's going on around the state and high school baseball and stuff like that, and kind of share with you all these performances that we're seeing across the state. But until we talk to y'all next time, enjoy a great sports weekend, Major League Baseball opening day, the Masters, college baseball, high school baseball, everything going on right now. And the NFL draft will be coming up soon. But until we talk to y'all next time, have a good weekend. Take care.